Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Risk sentiment overview for the 16th of the 11th, 2022. Risk calculation. Now, they were already short and they've added short. Now, the reason for that is probably because of the news. You would have seen in the news about Poland and NATO and whether or not, we're going to get an escalation. Russia have denied doing it, and America don't want an escalation either. So that's the current situation. Neither side want an escalation, but there is a potential scenario where Estonia and Poland, they might get quite vocal because they don't really want to get struck by missiles, even though it was like an accident, apparently, in speech marks. So the rumour is that the Ukraine soldiers had hit a missile and it went askew, and so it went off. It went off tangent, and it went onto the Polish border. So that's the current situation where we are right now, is that the retail guys are shorting, and they've heavily shorted it. Quite a big chunk there, because that would have been the news, I think. No, they were already short, but they've added because of that scary news event. And, the thing is, they could be right, because it is quite legit, quite risky, quite scary. And because of that, because of the unknown nature of this risk event, we don't have a trade of the day today. So that's worth noting. So just bear that in mind. Keep an eye on your VIX, really, really important. We don't want to see that rally. If we rally, then, we'll start puking on risk. So they really shorted New Zealand dollar yen. They really shorted it. So that's of note. And you want to get the two things to align. So you get the two things to agree on a weekly basis and a daily basis, and you get yourself a decent setup there. So you look for technicals for entry, and then you make profits. So that's how you use those two charts. Yields fell, which is a surprise, because you would have thought they would have rallied because of that scary news event in speech marks, but they fell, so they're not concerned. And if the bond traders aren't that concerned, then probably going to be quite risk on. But we have an inversion, quite a strong inversion here, where we want this trend line and not to be coming down. We want it to be going up over time. Okay, so this isn't really that risk on, it's quite risk off. And the 3 month had pumped quite a bit, and it got shuffled down, it got smacked down a little bit. And ideally, we'd want that a lot lower. We want it below the 5 year, ideally. And we're currently quite high, and it's quite scary. So they have gone long on AJ, and they shorted the S&P. They've gone long dollar CAD, dollar Swiss, and dollar yen, and they've shorted gold. Right, so that's of note. Try and get the things to align, get the sales to align. You probably wouldn't want to do a red and a green, because you've got like disharmony. You want to have red and red, ideally, or green and green. Now the pound, the dollar has tried to regain some strength. We have fallen a great deal, probably too much in the short space of time. The month is really, it's really dumped in the, in the month time frame. So it could be that we're going to have some kind of fight back from the dollar, but it looks like we might be risk on if we look at our risk calculation. So sometimes you want scary news events to, for things to rally, which sounds counterintuitive, but that's how the market works. And that's why they release scary news events. So, in order it's to trap Main Street, the Wall Street guys want Main Street to go one particular way. And when they do, they get preyed upon. So there's the Wall Street, and then there's Main Street. So Main Street's retail traders, basically, and options traders and people like that. People with a lot of money, but they're just retail traders. What we want to be looking at is the call put ratio. So that's something we're going to include into the bulletin, but I need to investigate and get a good source from that. The put and the call ratio tells us the change in Main Street about their positioning on an intraday basis. And after yesterday's scary news, there was a lot of puts being put on. And puts are shorts, basically. So they saw that scary news event and they really sold. So we're going to include the put call ratio, maybe this week, maybe next week, but it'd be a good addition, I think. AU is the strongest, and dollar Swiss is the weakest. And we have fallen quite a bit in a week. Do bear that in mind. Now the VIX had pumped. Let's have a look at it now. We're 2.14 now, so the VIX is falling, and yeah, these are all up. They're a lot more green now. So yeah, whether or not how legit this was, I'm not sure, but it's very unusual to see a VIX in positive and the S&P in positive, because this is the S&P volatility and fear. So one of them was lying, so it might have been that this was lying, and it just basically rallied a little bit. So yeah, 2.14. So we have fallen since that screenshot. So we've got a speculative trade of the day, and that's because it's a risk on trade, but I wasn't entirely sure how legit this thing's going to be about NATO and Poland. It might just be brushed aside, and it was maybe an accident, and both sides don't want escalation. And we have to remember the Russian withdrawal as well. That's risk on. So we could have had a trade a day, but I put it as a speculative trade a day. So we are just going to monitor it. We've got the time and the date and the price, and it is a long and it's a risky trade. So we want risk on for this to do well. But because of the NATO Poland thing, we're just having a speculative trade of the day. So just monitor. If you want to join, there's Patreon. And if you want to get this bulletin and the trade of the day, it's £8 a month, which is pretty reasonable. And you get a lot of analysis. You've got a discount if you do annual, but there is something that you need to know, that we've got a Black Friday deal where you can have a yearly subscription for 30% off. Okay, so that's good. So if you want to have a 30% discount on a year, let me know, and then I'll just append like a note on Discord to say that you paid for a year. And so it's a big savings. And we've also got a lifetime access for Quasidb as well. And information's in Telegram. There's a pinned message on the Telegram. So click that for more information. And so you've got lifetime spreadsheet access, and you've got lifetime premium access. And it's a pretty reasonable deal, because I'll be doing this bulletin sentiment analysis for a good while, for many, many years, until I got enough money to retire. And then that'll be it. But we'll see how we go. So Patreon, Telegram, Discord, and that's that. So that's the level. And when I say it's the level in speech marks, so that was the thing of note. And we had a double top, which of course they shorted because of the double top, and it was a decent resistance. So we did fall, and we had a bearish activity below that level, and now we're now above, and we could potentially get to all-time high because they've shorted it. Right, so we might have been maybe we could have had the trade of the day today potentially, but there is that risk of it going wrong, and there is that also risk about that Polish NATO narrative, whether or not there's going to be an escalation today. There's a possibility there might be. So we're just going to monitor our trade of the day. It's probably sod's law is that it's going to do really, really well, and it would have helped our profit and loss, but it's just one of those things. We have to know when to trade and when not to trade, and to know your position size as well. So S&P is going to make in the buy here, and so we already were a buy, but if they sell it, we're going to agree to the big picture. All right, so this can come up. US 30, they sold it as per scary news, so this can go up. And now DAX, there's buying it, so this probably should fall. Okay, so how legit this candle is, it remains to be seen. It's probably fake because they've gone long. They shouldn't be getting paid. They should be getting punished. And we'll do a quick 2-minute video in Discord. Then after that, I'm going to do a Patreon video for the stop loss clusters, and we can look at those levels that I brought to your attention yesterday. Gold is kind of sideways. They might be making a buy here because I've gone a sell, sorry, because I've gone long. So we want to keep an eye, on these supports. We might want to see a break of support because, that's how it works. They might be going long, but it's probably a little bit sideways, to be honest. Okay, today's liquidity targets and ratios. Now, dollar yen had flipped back to buy. We were 51%, then we've gone back to 49%, and we might just flip-flop a little bit on the dollar yen. How are we looking? Yeah, we are. We are breaking monthly support too. So for the dollar yen, you want to keep an eye on 139.66, and that's your monthly support too. So there's your live price and there's your monthly pivot, and it's how far we are below monthly pivot on dollar yen. So remember, if it's above, you're looking for a buy. If it's below, you're looking for a sell, and that's like a swing-like view of looking at the market. So, and when we're below monthly pivot, we target support. When we're above pivot, we target resistance. So keep it really simple, and have a look at your sentiment. Try and get things to align, and then you can be quite successful. Stop loss cluster there is at the spooky number for AU, and it's the largest stop loss cluster. And the largest mover was NU for sell, but it doesn't match the big picture. Aussie needs to improve, so they've gone long and they've got paid, so that would be unusual. Normally, if they buy, they should get punished. Okay, so Euro is a good example. They shorted it and price has gone up. We've got a positive technical and a bearish sentiment. So when they become bearish, price should go up. So that's what should happen. That's why Euro's got a good score. There's a lot of people on Twitter that have got absolutely no idea about the sentiment, and you can use them and exploit them, and they're quite good. They're quite good counter trend material. They've got no idea what their peers are doing, but we can see we've got an eagle-eye view of the market by looking at the behavioral score matrix, and not only what they're doing, but and how successful they are as well. So if they're winning or losing, very powerful. And Kiwi long was neither successful or unsuccessful. It fell dramatically and rallied, and then it would have fallen at the Poland NATO news. So it was a 1 pip loss, no worries. It's just one of those things, and that's probably one of the reasons why we're just monitoring today. It probably just be a roller coaster again. But we've got our level, the time, the date, and the price. So no signals, which is okay. And there's your bubble deviation indicating buys for those. Dollar yen's interesting. It's got the yen bubbles moved a lot. That's the reason for it. They've gone long on the yen. So remember to keep an eye on the bubbles. It's really important. If you're a spreadsheet subscriber, you've got to keep an eye on those bubbles. They're really powerful. CPI from Italy, and we've got the inflation rate from Canada, and we've got the retail sales from the US. So keep calm or trade safely. I'll wrap up now because it's quite a long video, and I'll speak to you guys for the private video to Discord, and I'll speak to the Patreon members in Patreon in about 10 minutes.